Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome. So, I wanted to go live today to do a general quick reading on your situation with your person. So, this is a love reading. We're going to see what's going on. Primarily, I want to focus on anyone who might be separated or there's a disconnect between you and your person. Okay, in the meantime, while I do the reading, if anyone comes in and has any questions about their personal, um, it could be a personal question about anything about life, about career, I will be accepting questions as well. Okay, so let's get started. We're gonna look into anyone who's on your mind. Okay. All right, so there is a lot of mishandling of your emotions by this person, right? So this person is not being very sensitive about how you might feel, right? So they're very dismissive. It's more about what can you do for them than what they can do for you, right? So there's no reciprocity. It's a very one-sided connection, and it's definitely getting to you, right? It's making you, it's messing with your confidence, right? It's affecting your self-esteem. And of course, rightfully so, because when we care for someone and we are used to trying to work things out and communicate instead of shutting down, and it doesn't get reciprocated, and when the person is just pushing you away, the more you try to get closer, it's a painful experience. And it will affect your self esteem if you stick around. So the more you try, the more it will bring you down because it's not okay to get treated the way that this person is treating you, right? It's not normal, it's abnormal. So whenever you have those um, miscommunications, lack of reciprocity, lack of respect, it will tear you down. It will tear your spirit down. So that's something to be mindful of. But you're definitely a fighter, and you are fighting for this connection. You are still fighting for this person. You would still like to work things out, and this says a lot about you, who you are as a person. You're not someone who gives up easily, and you do like a little challenge. So right now, you look at this as a challenge. You're not looking at it as that this person is just not able to hold your presence or not able to take your love. You don't look at it as a negative thing. You look at it as something that you can overcome and that you could kind of change their mind. Um, but I don't really see that happening because it will progress into something that's even more painful, unfortunately, right? And sometimes hard lessons need to be learned, and it could be just one of those connections where you will be learning a hard lesson. So we're going to see what that lesson is. Let's see what that lesson is for you. No, you're someone who's definitely looking for a lot of love in your life. You're someone who's a very loving person. Um, you might have not had that growing up. So there was a lot of neglect, um, lack of care, lack of love, lack of support, lack of like a steady person in your life that you can depend on as a child. So, what happens for you, the lesson is you definitely chase that in your partners. You chase the feeling of wanting to kind of replace a father or a mother figure that you never had, right? The love. And that type of love is not romantic love. It can never be romantic love. It's more parental love. So what happens for you is that whenever you don't receive that love from this person, you actually start compensating for something that you're lacking and you give it to the other person. So you start taking care of them in a parental type of way. You become their mother, their father, you're using all of your resources to help them progress in life. You're using all of your energy to help them progress in life. So instead of, just focusing on how you feel in a moment and what you need as a person or as a romantic partner, you start shifting into a different type of connection that will not, it could never be sustained because romantic love is totally different energy and is totally different function that what you're used to doing with someone that you like or you love, right? So with this person right now, you're kind of pouring all of this love into this person. You're doing everything possible for them, and it doesn't get appreciated. They're actually annoyed at the fact that you're doing so much for them. It doesn't get reciprocated because they don't know what to do with it. Not only they're not aware of that, you know, you're just trying your best and you're communicating and you're showing love in the way that you think is best. Um, but this person is just shutting down and shutting you out, and they're not going to really be aware of what they want and need from you. So, the reason why you're not even able to show up for them in the way that they would need it is because they don't know it themselves, right? So, you have someone who's your person lacking in communication skills, and you're overcompensating and overextending yourself and overdoing everything for the both of you, right? So your emotional labor is for both people in this relationship, and that's a tough place to be in, right? It could get exhausting pretty quickly, and there are some good times that you have with this person or you used to have with this person if you guys are in no contact anymore. And that's a beautiful thing, right? So, what happens for you is that you kind of get hung up on the good times, the good memories, the good energy, how it used to be in the beginning, how this person, kind of swept you off your feet and you really enjoyed their time. But you have to remember that's not really who they are. It was a mask, it was a performance, and we always put our best foot forward when we first meet a person. So that's what this person did. they kind of faked it, right? They did all of the right things, they said all of the right things to be able to uh, win you over and reel you in emotionally. And that's what happened. They were able to trigger some of your wounds, right? Because you had never received that type of attention, that type of love. And then they kind of showed up and they showed you how you how it could be, how you could be treated with love and care. However, they're not able to sustain it because it's not who they are. It's not their pattern. You know, you want to pay attention to people's patterns. And this person's pattern is all over the place. It's give you some love, give you some affection, and then withhold it or withdraw. So it's a hot and cold cycle that you get stuck in, and you go round and round, and it never stops until you get off the ride yourself. So don't expect this person to change because that's all they know. They're not self aware enough to break the cycle that they're stuck in. So your job is to look at your own behavior, your own actions, your own emotions, your own feelings, your own patterns, right? So the lack of love, the lack of care, neglect that you had as a child, this is all something that can be worked out. It could be overcome with work and understanding. All right. So let's see. Let's look into what else is your person thinking. What's their state of mind? Okay, so I mean, we have someone who's a pretty successful person, right? They're very ambitious. So at first glance, if you look at this person, they seem like they have it together. They're successful. They're social. They go out. They have things that they're passionate about. So on the surface, it looks like a great partner to have in your life. It looks like they know what they're doing. They have themselves figured out, right? So this is like someone that you would enjoy yourself with. That you look at them and you're like, huh, this person does have social intelligence. But unfortunately, it's all surface level. When you go deeper into this person's state of mind, you get to see that there's a lack of responsibility, a lack of accountability. You know, they kind of just go with life, whichever way the wind blows, that's the way they're gonna go, right? So there's a lack of direction in life as well, and a lack of responsibility. I want to emphasize on that because when you have someone who has a lack of responsibility, that means they will never be able to commit and they will never be able to actually be responsible or feel responsible, not only for their own life, but for other people. This is why you felt that like they didn't really care. You know, whenever you would talk to them or you would explain how you feel or you would just share your thoughts with them, you would expect them to understand and take some responsibility, but they would not be able to do that. They don't feel like they need to. They feel like this is all on you. You know, if you go through something in life, don't call me. You know, they're not able to be there for someone who needs them. right? Because that scares them, because that takes a lot of responsibility, that takes a lot of emotional regulation. And this person is lacking emotional regulation. They don't have it, they don't have the skills for it. Um, this person's also like their values are very, very different from yours, right? So your values is commitment, being loyal to someone, taking care of them, being there for them. But this person is not the most loyal type. I do see that they don't think that they could just be with one person, right? So it could be like a third party situation that you might have had, right? Some rumors about some infidelity when you were with this person. Um, and that actually happens a lot with people who lack these morals and values, right? So we're not surprised about that. Now, what you would need to change in order to either work something out with this person if you would like to, or in order to move on. So we're going to look at both sides because some people they decide to they want to work this out no matter how bad the other person is, no matter how much they hurt they brought to you, you still want to be able to work it out, and that's your right. But some people have had enough, and some people they feel like they're ready to move on. Um, and I never would advise someone to move on or to stay. You make your own decisions, right? So it's totally up to you to make your own decisions. I can only guide you and tell you what would be the outcome, but every decision is made by you. Okay, so let's look into if you were to stay, what needs to change, I guess. Like, say, for example, if you are in no contact, right, or there's a lack of connection with this person, what you would need to change in order for this to actually go somewhere or to grow as a connection. Okay. Well, first of all, you could forget about having emotionally mature relationship, right? So once you make up your mind that this is not going to be a connection where your needs will be met constantly, and actually this person might meet your needs here and there, but it wouldn't be a constant thing and it would not be satisfying, right? Hello, how are you? And so once you get over that hump, right? Like once you realize this is somewhere where I'm not going to be able to get my emotional needs met, it's going to be more likely a one-sided connection, right? Where you would have to do the most emotional labor in a relationship. And that's what you've been doing. But what needs to change in order for this to actually become more balanced is that you definitely need to keep your distance and refocus back on yourself and start pouring all of that energy back into yourself. And I say this a lot, and I know it sounds simple and it's very confusing because how do you work out a relationship if you just focus on yourself? But with a person like that, with a person who, your person who's just very self absorbed and very independent, it's expected of them to not really want anything from you, and it's normal for them to not be there for you, right? So it's kind of like you have to learn how to be more independent, You have to learn how to pull your energy back, and refocus on yourself, so that way you're not as affected by this other person's reactions, right? So whenever you do something, you kind of expect them to give you a reaction. You expect them to be a lot more warmer, or a lot more appreciative. You can't expect that because this person is just not that type of person to show up like that for you. This is just someone who kind of lives in their own world, um, and they could have you around, but it wouldn't be the connection, the human connection that you're looking for, or a romantic connection that you're looking for. Okay, so definitely just being less. I don't want to say less emotional. I would say more emotionally regulated, and it's like to have that balance, to know when you need to speak up for yourself and stand up for yourself, and not be afraid to draw boundaries, right? So, like, think about it. Whenever this person expects you to be there for them, you drop everything and you go and you talk to them and you're taking care of them. But whenever you ask for help, it doesn't happen for you. So you have to match the energy. You also have to just not be there for them as much, right? You have to draw a boundary. You have to say, hey, I got things to take care of, but you've got this. You kind of just have to, um, really give it back to them the way that they're giving it to you, to be able to protect yourself, okay? So now let's look at, if you were to move on, or I guess what changes you could make to be able to move on. And if you do move on, what would happen? Well, all right. So in order for you to move on, this is more like we're you're gonna have to break the addiction cycle. And what I mean when I say an addiction cycle, so an addiction cycle is, you're addicted to the hot and cold. This person got you kind of like on a hook. Uh, They know how to push your buttons, they know your triggers, they know how to manipulate you, they know what to say, how to say it in order to pull you back in and make you think that they care. Um, so it's literally like breaking any addiction, okay? You get the dopamine hit whenever you talk to this person, or whenever this person shows you any type of warmth or attention. And you're going to have to replace this hot and cold cycle, this push and pull, or, you know, this connection, unstable connection, with something that's a lot more healthier for you. To be able to get that kind of adrenaline or a dopamine hit from other things, in your life. So it could be hobbies, it could be your work, it could be your career, your self growth, your spiritual journey, working out, anything that's healthy, anything that's more stabilizing to your nervous system. That's going to be the way to go about it. You have to look at it as any other addiction. Whenever you are addicted to coffee, whenever you are addicted to alcohol, drugs, and etc., this is the same thing, because that's what happens when if you have a past where you have a lack of care, a lot of neglect in your childhood. You start to think that these unstable relationships is love, and you get addicted to it. You try to solve this puzzle that you could never solve, and you could never replace it. So I'm gonna have to break that addiction cycle with replacing small, step by step, with something that's healthy, Could be working out, eating more healthier, just being more present in your body. I always emphasize that somatic work is super, super important. Just being able to breathe and be more present in your body is also the way to go. Yeah, and another thing is facing your own mistakes or facing your own shortcomings, facing that somewhere, somehow, deep down, you're still attracting these type of connections in your life, or you get, or it's a choice to stay, right? So you might not recognize it right away that it was a toxic relationship. So you kind of gave this person the benefit of the doubt. But whenever you saw the red flags, you chose to ignore it. So it's it's another perception that you have to kind of tap into about yourself, that um, whenever you see the red flags, there's like different stages you have to go through in order to pull back from this person. Because what happens for a lot of us is that we see the red flags and we think that it's human and that it's okay. This is how it's supposed to be. Not everyone is perfect. So we start coming up with all of these excuses just to stay, just to go through the pain, just to get that adrenaline rush. So you know these things about yourself, yet you get to stay. So another level of this perception, and let's just be more self-aware, is that I know these are the red flags, and I did not deserve, I don't deserve any of this. I did not deserve this person in my life, and I choose to walk away. I deserve something better, right? So just lifting up that veil and just seeing things for how they truly are. Not everyone will have good intentions. Not everyone will be self aware as you are. Just because this person happened to cross your paths, your life path, doesn't mean that they get to stay, doesn't mean that they get access to you. Just because this person, got you feeling good about yourself somehow, and they make you laugh and you have some good times, but then you get this crash, or you feel disrespected, you feel unloved. Those are the things that you have to remember in order to leave, right? If the and it's not like if the bad outweighs the good, there shouldn't be any bad at all, like in a relationship. Very, very minimum. And it's, something that's so trivial and something that's like you don't even think about it, right? But if it's something that's like keeps bothering you and keep replaying in your head about this person, something that's bad, something that you're lacking, that's when it's time to go. That's when you really have to face it and feel, you don't have to feel shame about it. Um, that you stayed as long as you did, or that this person is someone you love. That's totally normal. You just have to recognize your patterns and relearn them, okay? All right. So that's all for the reading. If anyone has any questions, let me know in the comments and I will answer. Gonna wait for a little bit, see if anyone has any questions. But I hope you guys had enjoyed the reading, and no contact, or just getting over your ex is, for some people, it's a little bit harder than for others. And if you find yourself going back to your ex and having an on and off cycle, I just want you to kind of pause and really think about what you're doing with your time and ask yourself, where is this coming from? And that's when the work starts. Once you start asking yourself, why do I do the things I do? Where is all this coming from? What part of my life is, or a part of my past is influencing uh, my present actions or behavior or emotions, right? This has nothing to do with the other person. The other person is just someone who triggers us in the way. So you might think that this person is special because you feel triggered about your past, and you tie this specialness to this person, versus what you need to do is figure out why you do the things that you do and why you react the way that you react. And once you start reacting in a different way, or responding to people like that in a different way, that's when the specialness will go away and you're going to look at this person and go, what was I thinking? And I know this has happened so many times when you would reminisce about some of your exes or some of the people that you had allowed in your life, and you would say to yourself, what was I thinking? That's the same thing. There's layers to it. So the more you dig, the more you open-minded about it, the better it is for you in the long run. Okay. All right, guys. So that is all for today. I hope you all have a good day. If this has resonated, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time. Bye.